Good morning, and a very happy new year. I almost forgot. Let us begin with a short meditation. Let's close our eyes and turn our attention inward, forgetting all outer consciousness. Put yourself into the presence of God. And that means simply remembering that we are always in the presence of God. God is all pervading, He's all around us and within. But usually we are not aware of that, or we are not thinking about that. And in meditation, in the very beginning, that's the first thing we have to do. Visualize the light of God all around you and within you, and especially at the Christ center, point between the eyebrows. Light of God, this is an aspect of Om. And we have to go through the Om first before we can go into the Christ consciousness. So deeply. Think of it. Feel that you're in the presence, forget everything else. Feel that you're in the presence of that light, or cosmic sound, or peace, or love. These are all aspects of the Om. That's the mother aspect of God. And that leads us to the Christ consciousness. First of all, I would like to thank you all for your many Christmas wishes and gifts and all that sort of thing. Also for the other ministers. And we appreciate very much your love and your friendship and your support of the temple. However, I would like to remind you that those of us who are serving here on the pulpit, we are only delivery boys. And the true givers throughout the year are those great masters. Never forget that, because they are the ones who came down to show us the way. They are the ones who gave us the great gift of these great teachings. And their continuous help, spiritual help. And the more we are in attunement with them, the more we are receptive to their blessings and their spiritual help. So our subject today is Kriya Yoga, the science of God realization, and I think that's a good subject to start the new year with. Now, of course, that's a vast subject, and fortunately there's a whole chapter on this subject in our biography of a yogi, and I would like to recommend to you that every once in a while you read that chapter again, because it takes time to really understand what the whole thing is all about. As simple as it is, and as logical and scientific as it is, still, I think the deeper understanding comes more and more, not through intellect, but through our spiritual growth and our deeper understanding through intuition. And so, I want to start out with, this is what I do when I go out, what we call campaigning, meaning introducing the teaching to people who didn't know anything about it, who come through advertisement and so on. And so I give you a little bit of that, all right? Because I want to start out with motivation. motivation, because practicing yoga, practicing Kriya Yoga, and the other techniques, practicing meditation means effort, it means discipline. And unless we are really motivated, we are not going to do a very good job, or we may neglect the practice. Master Paramahansa said that religion should be compelling. Compelling not because of, as it's taught in certain places, because of fear of hell. It's deeper than that. And it is not just a matter of going to church once a week or every 2 weeks. It should affect every aspect of our life, our daily life, all the time. And it comes down to a very simple question, the most basic question really, which has to do not only with religion, but life itself. What do you want? You know, when I go out to a new audience and I ask, what do you want in life or from life? They're all very receptive, thinking, now what? What is he going to say? And I say, if I could now distribute paper and pens to every one of you and ask to write down what you want, most likely I would get different answers. Most of them probably would say, I want a lot of money so that I can buy all the things that I want. A person who is in poor health may say, probably, I want health. A person who is lonely probably wants a satisfactory relationship. I came to America to study with Frank Lloyd Wright, and he was quite honest about it. He told us, I wanted fame. And so everybody is different. And I think most people are living so much on the surface that they are not really asking, what do I want? They're driven by desires and instincts and the influence of environment, society. And yet we have to still go deeper into that thought, what do I want? Until we come to a level where we find the answer for all is the same. And most people do not know it because they are not going deep enough. And what is it? There are two things. The first one is we want to be free from suffering. And it's in the scriptures. You know, this is an interesting thing. It's in the scriptures, the various religions. Krishna said, get away from my ocean of suffering. Christ said, in this world you have tribulations. That's suffering. But be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. And I think this is not understood by most people. He didn't say just, look, I am the only one and an exception. No, those great ones, they come down to say, look, what I have, that consciousness that I have, you can have. And they say, come on, I'll show you the way. Buddha said, suffering exists. There's a cause for suffering, and that cause can be removed. And he said, what is the cause? Desire. Desire. Because as long as we have unfulfilled desires, that's a state of suffering. We are not complete. The next thing is that we want. You don't want to die, right? It's the deepest instinct in man and animals and plants. We don't want to die. It's deeply built in. We want to have eternal existence. And not just existence, blissful existence. A joy which includes love, peace, wisdom, all that sort of thing. A bliss which never fades out, but gets better all the time. Would you like to have that? These are the two things: eternal blissful existence and transcending suffering. And now comes the point, and this is pretty hard to accept, perhaps. We cannot find this in the things of the world. No matter what it is, or conditions, or whatever, we cannot find it in the things of the world. Why? Because this world is built on a principle of duality and change. It's a mathematical impossibility. We cannot find it in the things or conditions of this world. It's in the Bible, you know. These are Hindu teachings, and this is the esoteric teaching underlying all the great religions. It's in the Bible. God speaking through Isaiah. I form the light and create darkness. It's God speaking. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. He had to in order to have a show, to have a drama. Any scientist will tell you there's no single force in the universe. There is duality, has to be duality, has to be contrast in order to have manifestation of creation. And now, if you analyze what people are seeking, they want to cut duality in half, right? They want to have only the good, only the beautiful, only the pleasant, and leave all the rubbish, suffering, and unpleasant stuff out. You cannot do it. You cannot do it. If you are accepting joy, pleasure, we have to accept pain. If you're accepting birth, we have to accept death. That is duality, Maya. And so the answer is, and this is the quote which I probably have given to you more than any other one. I think it's one of the most important passages in the autobiography of a yogi. To surmount Maya, that is duality, was the task assigned to the human race by the millennial prophets. And he's not talking just about Hindu prophets or Jewish prophets or Christian prophets or whatever. It's all the great religions, all the great teachers of mankind have taught that. And where do you find it? Where do you find the bliss and the state beyond suffering? As I said, not in the world, not in the things or conditions of the world. Because this world is built on a principle of duality. You have to seek it within yourself. There it is. An amazing thing is, I went to churches, Catholics and Protestants, and I went to temples in India, and Hindu temples, and temples of the Sikhs and the Jains and everywhere, and mosques. And they do not teach it. It's all external. Ceremonies, rituals, outer things. And all the scriptures say, go within. It's within you. Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you. Some of the Christian saints have taught it very clearly. Like Saint Teresa, many others. Krishna in a Gita, Patanjali in a Yoga Sutras. Interiorization It's one of the main keys of finding God, the higher consciousness. Quran, the holy book of the Muslims, remember thy Lord within thyself. An ancient sage long before Krishna in India, in the Yoga Vasishtha, serves the Lord seated within through yogic meditation. They all say it's inside. Because if we are seeking it outside, we are using our senses and the sensory mind, isn't it? And these instruments are not good enough to perceive God. We have to go within in meditation. And there, through the intuition of the soul, gradually more and more, we become aware of what that self is, what God is. And then from then on comes expansion of consciousness. Now, the whole science of yoga, of going within, is in the Bible. The Old Testament, Ezekiel, 28th chapter. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. That's paradise. It's not a place. Scholars have been fighting over which place, which country is it, was it. It's not a place, it's a state of consciousness. Now, we talked last time about when we had the Christmas tree, remember? And the lights there. And I said this is a symbol of the inner tree of the spine and the centers, the chakras, all the way up to the highest in the brain. Ezekiel talks exactly about that. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Now, who knows that? This means the chakras, the stones of fire, the centers of consciousness and light. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created, till iniquity was found in thee. And by the multitude of the merchandise they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Meaning the consciousness went out, and man became completely engrossed in the outer sensory experiences and the world, and he lost the consciousness of the spine, of the centers, and the holy mountain or Zion, which is the supreme center in the brain. And so Ezekiel says, therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee from the midst of the stones of fire. That's the fall of man. So, what's the solution? As we came down and out, we go in and up. Isn't it? Makes sense. How did you come in? Through the door. You didn't come through the windows and through the walls, right? You came through the door, you came in. How do you go out? Same way. That's yoga. It's exactly that. We have to learn to go within and up, and there it is. Isaiah, and the highway shall be there, and it shall be called the way of holiness. That's the spine. The unclean shall not pass over it, but the wayfaring man, though fools, shall not err therein. Fools meaning not idiots, not stupid people, but it means fools of God. St. Francis and others have been called fools of God. No lion shall be there, nor any ravenous beast shall go up thereon. But the ransomed of the Lord shall return and come to Zion. And this is the highest chakra, 1,000 red lotus in the brain. Now listen to this. With songs and everlasting joy upon their heads. They shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away. And there it is, same thing. They call that in India, in Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma. That's the essence of religion. That's the essence of life. Sanatana Dharma means overcoming suffering and attaining eternal bliss consciousness. And here it is, Isaiah, exactly. Everlasting joy and sorrowing and sighing, meaning suffering, shall flee away. That's the state. It's right there. A master said, quoting from the Gita, the yogi is deemed greater than the body disciplining ascetic, greater even than the followers of the path of wisdom or of the path of action. Be thou, O Arjuna, a yogi. A master explains the spinal root of ascension is the universal highway to be traveled by all souls. Spiritual highway, as mentioned by Isaiah. Now, there were Christian saints, of course, who have taught that. And I think they have been very little understood. There was a Capuchin monk in the 17th century in France. He said, in proportion as thou dost earnestly gather inward all thy faculties, in forgetfulness of all created things, being recollected in thyself, in obliviousness of creatures, the nearer art thou to receive the generation of the divine word. This is strictly yoga. It's exactly Kriya Yoga. Saint Teresa, this is very interesting. In the 16th century, when she lived, she said, we have to, just like she used the illustration of a turtle or a hedgehog, withdrawing their limbs within, and she said, we have to withdraw our faculties within, and there it is. And the interesting part to me is that she said, the turtle and the hedgehog, they can withdraw their limbs into the shell at will. Man cannot do it. Man cannot do it at will. It comes by the grace of God. That was the 16th century. Now, we are further along in our material science because during the Dark Ages, man's general knowledge was limited to that which he could perceive with the senses. He knew nothing about the subtle forces of creation. And now comes, this is now strictly science. If you understand that, you understand what the principle is of Kriya Yoga. And that his every action, thought, and emotion is empowered by a corresponding flow of life energy in his body. Man is a creature of habit. He has established habit patterns not only of action, or thought, or emotion, but corresponding deeper patterns of energy flow. In other words, with every action, every thought, every emotion, there is a power of energy moving in certain nerve channels. And because we usually are seeking outside, isn't it? For happiness, for joy, for satisfaction, for fulfillment. It is not only the mind and the emotions that are going out and the actions, it's the energy which is going out. This is what the Master says. It is this outward flowing of his life and consciousness that ties man to mortal limitations meaning body identification, sensory experiences, the experiences of the world, duality, Maya, and God and the soul, no awareness. So the Master says, where the energy is, there is your consciousness. As long as the energy goes out, our consciousness is out. And so the Master says, Kriya, controlling the mind directly through the life force, is the easiest, most effective, and most scientific avenue of approach to the infinite. Interiorization of energy brings interiorization of consciousness. But then he said the spinal column is the trunk of the tree of life in man. Through Kriya, the spine is gradually magnetized. And the stronger this magnet becomes, the more quickly the energy can be withdrawn from the senses into other bodily instruments. So there it is. It is a gradual process. We have to understand, we have to be patient because there is a habit of energy and consciousness going out. And so you want to turn inside, and it takes patient practice. But gradually, more and more, that spine becomes more and more powerful. The magnet becomes more and more powerful. And the more powerful it becomes, the more it has the power to withdraw energy, and with that, consciousness. This is the principle of Kriya Yoga. It's the highest technique of interiorization that ever was given. That's one aspect. There's another aspect, and that is karma. Bad karma from a past, wrong actions which we have performed. It's very interesting. There's a Christian saint who said, the soul is like a covered object. The object cannot respond to the rays of the sun because the covering is intervening. Meaning the soul is just like an object that is covered with a layer of dirt or rust or whatever and cannot receive directly the light of the sun. Let the covering be destroyed, and the object will be exposed to the sun in proportion as the work of destruction advances. So the soul is covered by a rust. That means, in Christian terminology, sin, past sins. Master called it the dross of karma, which is gradually consumed away by the fire of Kriya Yoga. In the Catholic terminology and dogma, it is purgatory. Have you heard of that? In other words, when the soul cannot go to heaven because of sins, it goes to purgatory in order to work out through suffering all those sins. We are not using the word sin. Master said, don't call yourself a sinner because you are the soul, you're a child of God. Don't identify yourself with darkness. There's a few places which he said, forget the past. The past of all men is dark with many shames. Everything will improve if you're making a spiritual effort now. And so Master says, now besides interiorization of energy and consciousness, there is this process of burning up karma of the past. And Master said Kriya Yoga is the true fire ceremony extolled in the Bhagavad Gita and in Vedic literature. The spiritual potency of Kriya Yoga, like an all-consuming fire, destroys the seeds of past bad karma and of earth-binding past and present desires. The daily performance of this sacred inner fire ritual gradually purifies the consciousness of all material dross and frees the Maya-bound soul. It's very interesting, they are performing in India, this is quite common. For special occasions, priests are performing fire ceremony. It's a ritual. I have asked several ones, what does it mean? And they say, it's a sacred ritual. It's mentioned in the Vedas, all the scriptures. What's the deeper meaning? What's the purpose of it? They don't know. Just as in other religions, Christian religions and so on, certain ceremonies, certain rituals are not understood. And this is the sad part, because the deeper teaching has been lost and forgotten. And only the ritual, which is a symbol, remains. It's not fire, of course, it's not flames, it's energy, it's light which destroys darkness. Now, Ezekiel again, it's there. Thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will kindle a fire in thee, and it shall devour every green tree in thee, and every dry tree. The flaming flame shall not be quenched, and all faces from the south to the north shall be burnt therein. And all flesh shall see that I, the Lord, have kindled it. It shall not be quenched. Then said I, Ah, Lord God, they say of me, doth he not speak parables? In other words, they didn't understand what he was talking about. It's all symbology. It's the same thing. It's a fire ceremony mentioned in the old Jewish scripture. It's the same thing. Destroying the dry trees and the green trees, meaning karma. The dry trees, these are the old karmic stuff which is still there. And the green trees, these are new, wrong actions, perhaps in this life, or just very recently. Scriptures are simply not understood. I have one from the Bhagavad Gita where it says, fire, light, daytime, the bright half of the lunar month, the 6 months of the northern course of the sun, pursuing this path at the time of departure, the knowers of God go to God. Now, how do you understand that? Nobody. I've asked scholars in India, so on. They have no idea, not the slightest idea. You read it in the Gita, Master explains it. The path of fire. Fire means life energy. In ordinary man, the course of prana energy is downward, down the spine, and then going out to the nervous system. The way of darkness, flowing from the brain to the sensory nerves and the countless cells of the body. This dispersion and diffusion of life energy reveal to human consciousness the material world, not the spiritual, not God. In a successful yogi, on the other hand, the course of prana is upward, the way of light. By yoga, he reverses the direction of the flow and is able to concentrate the whole of his life force within the brain. And that is the sun of light. And the sun of this consciousness is the supreme source of life and intelligence in the body. When Jesus said, I am the light of the world, he that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. It's not Jesus. It's the inner divine consciousness, the Christ consciousness. And there is another aspect. This is in the autobiography. The body of the average man is like a 50-watt lamp, which cannot accommodate the billion watts of power roused by an excessive practice of Kriya. Through gradual and regular increase of the simple and foolproof methods of Kriya, man's body becomes astrally transformed day by day. That's another aspect, because the body has to be prepared. There is astral transformation, meaning the subtle vibration of the body cells is changed in order to prepare the body for the rising of the Kundalini. Now, these aspects are very subtle. Burning up of karma, you do not notice that. The change of vibration, it takes quite some time until a person begins to feel a change of vibration that takes place. But it's there. And I want to encourage you, because now this is all pretty heavy stuff that I gave you, right? But this is the science. If you really understand it, you will have a greater incentive to practice the techniques. It's not just Kriya, the other ones too. Hongsa and Om, they all work towards that. There's a story about the Chinese bamboo tree. They plant a seed and water it very carefully and repeatedly. For a year, nothing happens. Second year, they keep on watering that seed. Nothing happens. Third year, same thing. Nothing happens. Fourth year, same thing. But they keep on watering that seed. Fifth year, within 6 weeks, the bamboo shoots up 90 feet into a powerful tree. And before that, those 4 years when seemingly nothing happened, that seed developed a powerful root system to prepare, to support the tree. And you know, I often thought about that when it comes to Kriya Yoga. You practice and nothing happens, right? Seemingly, consciously, to your experience, not much happens. But underneath, there is preparation going on. Underneath, there are changes going on. There is purification going on. And it may be longer than 4 years, you know. Be patient, but practice, because it works. As I said before, these subtle changes you do not notice until later. And you're bringing in the power, you know, it is a cumulative thing. As you practice more, the magnet becomes stronger, and there's a greater flow of energy. And that does it. It brings about scientifically the changes that are necessary for the launching of the bamboo tree within. So, that's it. Now, this is the scientific aspect. There's a couple more, you know. Master called Kriya Yoga the airplane route to God. And the techniques, that's the airplane. And besides that, if you have an airplane, besides the airplane, you need something else. You need fuel. and that is devotion. And you need a pilot, and that's the Guru. That's the complete formula. But I'm not going into that. These are subjects which will come up later on sometime. But keep in mind, practice. And those of you who are not members yet, who are not taking the lessons, I urge you to take the lessons. Because just coming here and listening to sermons, that doesn't mean a thing, at least not much. You have to practice. You have to practice. And the reward will be there. There's no question. All right, so again, Happy New Year and happy practice.